Hello guys and welcome back to DarkHorse FM, and in today's video I'm going to take you through a simple routine of how you can create the best tactic for any team in Football Manager 2023. I'm using RB Leipzig for this test, and in case you don't already know how to create a new tactic, I'm going to show you guys how to go about doing that. So the first thing I like to do is to look at the squad, look at all the players that I have in RB Leipzig, and then what I like to do first is to actually rate all my players based on their ability and see who is the very best player in my team. I can see here is C. Nkunku, that is Christopher Nkunku, the French wonder kid, advanced playmaker. That's already making a mental note for his favorite role. By the way, if you like this view, you can look up my channel videos and you can find Football Manager essential views, and you can look for a method of how you can go about downloading the FM Scout squad view. It's very comprehensive and it goes on to show you most of all the details of all your players that you might want to have at your fingertips. So Nkunku is the best player in this team. Daniel Moore as well, Emil Forsberg, Timo Werner, David Raum is the fullback. So roughly you can all see who my best players are. I also have Kevin Campbell and Andre Silva as my center forward. So I have two center forwards in Timo Werner and Andre Silva. Ideally one of them I want to play on the wide left or on the wide right. So just having a mental note as to who your best players are, and then you can go on to filter it by potential as well and see who the best wonder kids are. You can see Josko Vardiol is also a center back, 20 years of age. He's probably somebody I want to keep an eye on when I'm going about creating my tactic. He's a fullback attack, left-sided fullback, but obviously looking at his attributes, he can also play as a central defender on the left-hand side. He has good marking, good concentration, good passing as well. So that's quite good. Having this mental note for who your best players are is like the first step to creating a good tactic for your team. The next thing to look out for is your formation, the starting position of all your best players in the squad. Based on their abilities, you can already tell roughly where each player knows how to play, looking at their player attributes, player positions, natural positions. But I noticed that in Football Manager 2023, ever since the squad planner was introduced, you can't really filter all your players based on their position or looking at the squad depth based on the positions that are available for your team to play, kind of like isolating every position. But what I'd like to do is to show all positions in the squad depth, and that way it removes the tactic or the current formation that is there, so it becomes irrelevant. And I just go about clicking all the player roles like defender on the right, central defender, and just see how much depth I have in each particular position. So this kind of helps me make a mental note of where I actually have depth in my squad. This kind of helps you go on to pick the formation. So once you figured out roughly what your depth is in your squad and where you have favorable players to play in each position, you can go ahead to try and fill in the roles automatically. There isn't a real tactic on screen right now, so I'm just going to fill in my best players based on whatever is on the screen to make sure that I have everybody that needs to be in the first 11 to be on the tactic screen, because that's going to help me create the formation and the tactic built around the current players that I have. Starting with Nkunku here, we can have Nkunku to play as normally a central midfielder, so I'm just going to throw him in the AMCR position. Daniel Moore as well going to the AMCL position. Emil Forsberg is going to be on wide right, so I'm going to have him play as a standard striker, and then Timo Werner as well is going to be my second striker. Raum is going to play as the fullback on the left hand side, and then Kevin Campbell is probably going to play as a left or right central midfielder, so you can have him play in one of the left-sided defensive midfield roles. And then the other striker is mental note Andre Silva, so we're going to have him play as a substitute number 1. We're going to throw him back in once already. We have a backup fullback here. Okay, Angelino is on loan. Xavier Schläger is one defensive midfielder that I'm going to consider in the team. I kind of like him as well. So we've seen a right back already in Konrad Laimer. You can have a fullback play on the right hand side, and then Klosterman is also another right back, slightly better than Konrad Laimer, but it's debatable depending on how you go about playing the game. But also a mental note, having player substitute number 2, so you can already see that the team is starting to shape up now. And then Willie Oban, and then you can have him play as a centre back, and then Amod Diallo as well to play as the other centre back. By the way, before we found our way to our goalkeeper in Peter Gulashi, you can have him play as the central goalkeeper. See me saying central. Have him play as the goalkeeper, your standard goalkeeper, and then you can go over to the tactic screen, and then you already start to see a relationship take place. So the next thing to do is to go over each player and their attributes, each of your best players by the way, and look at their attributes and see if they are capable of playing the role that they're selected on screen. Looking at Xavier Schläger, I know that I would want him to play as an anchor in the holding midfielder role. He's actually good at that, and also I could want to use him as a defensive midfielder on defend duty, somebody that could just hold on to the defense in this position here. I can have Xavier Schläger play that role, and knowing that we have an aggressive player in Campo to play in the central midfield role, and though he's not very good at crossing, you can consider him playing as a different role, probably a central midfielder on support or on attack duty. I'm going to opt for support. That kind of uses his aggression as well. There's no instruction attached to that. Looking at Dani Olmo and Nkunku, that's where there's a big debate as to who's going to play in the attacking midfield role. Having Kevin Campbell to play on this other side. Ideally, I know that Nkunku is not very capable of playing, let's say, not that he's not capable, but I would rather have Dani Olmo play in the wide right or wide left than to have Nkunku, because Nkunku is slightly more powerful, and we can have Nkunku play in a slightly deeper central midfield position and then opt him to play as a central midfielder on attack duty. He's going to be a lot more powerful coming from this role, and knowing that Dani Olmo, on the other hand, can play either left or on the right hand side, and you can go on to peek at your player's attributes and see that Dani Olmo is a right-footed player but has good dribbling, good aggression, good teamwork, vision and technique as well, and someone that is playing on the right hand side, you can opt him to play as an advanced playmaker on the right hand side, or you can have him play as an inverted winger. An important thing to look at when you're trying to create tactic is to try to make a good relationship between the players that you have on your team and how they tie together with one another. Emil Forsberg is one player that I can also opt to play on the left hand side, to play on the left one, that you can have Timo Werner play as a center forward starting, because he's got the pace. Playing as an advanced forward is not going to be a problem for him. Once you've decided on where every player is going to start, the next thing you want to do is to try and create relationships between players and try to see how they interact with one another in game as well. So you can have a fullback play on support, and then you have a central midfielder on attack. What is the relationship between these two players, and what is the relationship between these two players and the player that is playing ahead of them? That's the winger in Emil Forsberg, and how do they tie together in the entire philosophy you're trying to create for your team? If you want to play a more adventurous style of play, using two fullbacks on support duty, if you want to be a bit more expressive, it's possible to use two fullbacks on support, but they're going to be slightly more cautious and they might not venture too far forward. So if you want to create something that's a bit more aggressive, you might want to opt for two fullbacks on attack duty, but knowing that if you're going to use two fullbacks to play on attack duty, can have the fullback play on attack, but with this you need to have a solid protector in the DM position to protect the defense. Or if you don't feel like a 4-3-3, you can try different options, provided you have enough depth to cover the positions in your formation. You also want a formation that allows you to use your best players in their favorite starting positions. Next, you want to create relationships with the roles that you select and how they tie together in your tactic. In the case, I'm opting for a 3-4-2-1 system. I can have Timo Werner play as a pressing forward. This allows me press high up the pitch, playing with Werner's strengths, and with the support of two attacking midfielders, we have the numbers to press the opposition's centre-backs. With this, I have to make sure that my centre-backs and CDM have good physical attributes like pace and stamina to protect us from the opposition's counter-attack. You can verify this in your squad planner and comparison tab, and in the menu, you would find a lot of data that can help you decide on if the system that you're currently using is feasible for the players in your squad. Looking at their collective attributes for pace, technique, defensive positioning, this can help you understand better the current crop of players that you have in your team and also how they compare with other teams in the league. Remember, these attributes change very often. They're quite dynamic, so as long as your players go on to improve or decline throughout the course of the season, or even when you go on to sign new players, you need to review this menu so you can look at how your team racks up in the league. I recommend you do this at least twice a season. I've opted for the following team instructions based on my interpretation of the data and a positive mentality to also encourage my players to play on the front foot. The most important tip in all tactic creation is to observe the matches that you're playing. I suggest watching games in extended or comprehensive highlights just to get a feel of how your tactic plays out in game. Once you're comfortable with what you see, you can go for key highlights. I hope you found this video useful. Please leave a like on it if you did, and also remember to subscribe to the channel so you can get notified when new Football Manager hints and tip and tactic videos do come out here on the channel.